put a lightsaber in the game. And I'm like, no.
Okay.
And I'm super happy saying no.
Quite a bold move for Julian Gerighty, creative director on Star Wars Outlaws, to say no to his boss's wishes and make a Star Wars game without lightsabers.
Huh?
I just got to play about 4 hours of Star Wars Outlaws at a special event in LA and also got to interview Julian Gerighty. This man is in charge of the entire game. He's the creative director. And I actually previously met him a couple months back at Ubisoft Forward and talked to him a bit then, and he actually remembered me, which was so cool. What an absolute legend. And I think you can clearly see in this interview that his passion for Star Wars and video games in general really comes across.
This is the way I rock.
And also joining in this interview was Steve Blank from Lucasfilm, whose role is to basically facilitate the relationship between developers and Lucasfilm when making these games about Star Wars. Also a super lovely guy. And I was super excited to be chatting with both of them about bringing this game to life, but I also had a few tricky questions for them.
Is Darth Jar Jar truly the Sith Lord behind everything?
Oh, Darth Jar Jar, yes.
Thank you so much for joining. It's a pleasure to have you both here. I'm very excited about the game. My audience is as well. I wanted to ask you first, what are your first memories of Star Wars?
My first memory of Star Wars is my dad taking me to a daytime showing of A New Hope in Oxford in 1977.
Oh, cool.
The first few months it was out, and
Sure.
we had to queue around the block to go and see it.
Yeah, wow.
And I really vividly remember, I don't remember the movie so much, but I vividly remember the car ride back home and staring out at the sky and thinking, oh my gosh, this is the best thing I've ever seen.
That's actually so special.
And
Wow.
the funny thing is, and I told you about this, but I tried to Google that theater or the premiere of Star Wars A New Hope in the UK.
Yeah.
Only black and white pictures.
What?
It makes me
Are you
feel so
serious?
old.
Oh my god.
So old.
Are you serious?
Yeah, completely.
Do you remember it like that though? Or?
No, I remember in Technicolor,
Yeah.
but I cannot find color pictures.
Oh my gosh.
It's a great question for Star Wars memory. I think for me it was actually watching them on TV with my parents. My parents went to go see them when they were newly married and saw the first one, and my mom still tells the story of her first time watching the crawl into the opening shot of A New Hope and being blown away. And so I grew up in a family appreciating Star Wars, and I remember sitting on the floor in our apartment watching it for the first time with my parents. I also don't remember the specifics, but I remember how excited they were for my brother and I to see it, and then us insisting that the next time they were on, they record them off the TV.
Yeah, wow.
Now this is the first ever open world Star Wars game, so to speak. But why has it taken this long? Well, I might have had some idea about this, but I was hoping maybe they could clear things up and explain to me why it has taken this long to get an open world Star Wars game, apart from Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, Star Wars Galaxies, and The Old Republic, which technically aren't really open world seamlessly.
I wanted to talk to you about the open world. This is the first truly open world Star Wars game, and the way you can explore space to ground and that whole thing, jumping between planets. I thought part of the reason that had never been done is because it's hard to get approvals from Lucasfilm about those kinds of things. Can you, could you elaborate on the decision to kind of let players now do that?
Sure. I think the decision to let players do it is also catching up with technology and what's possible and what can be designed and accomplished and achieved with all of the other systems and all of the other elements and all of the other design principles married with, deep, rich narrative. I think everyone was always open to and excited by that opportunity. It was really just waiting for the right partner in the right moment who could make that happen.
Yeah, from my perspective, any game is a challenge to make, and a open world game is a different set of challenges, and an open world Star Wars game is a completely different set of challenges. It's something that we were really laser focused on being able to deliver. So we weren't silly with scope, we weren't silly with we want the entire galaxy or anything like that. We were incredibly focused on this is what we're going to deliver, this is the breadth of activities, lots of diversity in terms of the different experiences that you could jump through, and the player fancy being very central to all of those, being an outlaw, being a scoundrel.
What's the deal with Tatooine? Some people are happy it's in the game, others are complaining that we've seen way too much of Tatooine and we're going back to that same desert planet again for the countless time. But Tatooine being in an open world Star Wars game is actually a pretty big deal because of the history of this planet and the ability to now be able to explore it freely.
I know you might not be able to answer this yet, but it being an open world, and obviously with the planet planet like Tatooine that has so much history, like, is this the lore accurate recreation of these places? Like, can you go to Cantina, Lars Homestead, we've seen Jabba's Palace as well, like all of these places?
Short answer, yes.
Okay.
Longer answer, every planet is a different challenge. And working very closely with Lucasfilm Games, I think there's a pleasure in taking something that is so ingrained in popular culture and has had so many different versions out there through books, movies, TV series, and recreating that at the most accurate level possible versus coming up with something completely new for the galaxy. It's two different types of the brain basically working on that, but it's awesome challenge. I mean, Massif was responsible for both Tatooine and Toshara.
Yeah,
so we really balanced both of those challenges.
Yeah, wow, that's huge.
Okay, so I thought I'd get a bit more personal with Julian, and that really seemed to surprise him.
I wanted to ask you something way back. I know you have a psychology degree.
Yes.
Does that influence
How
the way...
did you know I have a psychology? Did I tell you?
Researched.
All right.
I looked it up. Yeah.
First thing I told you, I did. I studied psychology.
Yeah, sure.
I have a Bachelor of Science.
Sure. Does that influence your game design at all, and or like the way you look at characters and character building, or kind of some of the systems you want to bring to a game, your ideas behind it?
As a creator, every single experience in your life adds to whatever you're going to do.
Sure.
So every movie, every book, somehow you take something from it and it becomes part of your worldview. I think psychology for me, so long ago, I'm not 20 anymore.
Sure.
Don't let this magnificent physique kid you. I am much older.
It did fool me. Yeah.
I'm much older.
Okay.
So psychology was so long ago.
Sure.
I think where it's useful is in management of a team, communication,
Sure.
more than how do we put this in the game and how do we create facets of the game experience that relate to that sort of degree or experience.
Okay, sure.
It's a long-winded answer.
No, it's great. I want to hear it.
The other big problem so many people seem to have with this game is the fact there are no lightsabers. For me, that's honestly really refreshing. You're not a Jedi or a Sith. You don't have the Force. Kves is not special. Huh? But I just had to ask, are there any lightsabers in the game at all? Anywhere?
This is a game without lightsabers or Jedi powers, the Force. It's all kind of not in the game. Are there like any references to that, or is there a lightsaber in the game at any point?
You know what? In my first pitch, there was a lightsaber.
Okay.
And it was a little different from what we have here.
Sure.
But it doesn't make any sense. It's
Sure.
not coherent with Star Wars. So it's one of those gentle things where one of my many bosses would go to me, put a lightsaber in the game. And I'm like, no.
Okay.
And I'm super happy saying no because it's Star Wars.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Sure.
At this moment, in this era,
Yeah.
for this character type to come across that. There can be mentions of the Force as a mystical entity that's whispered about, but it wouldn't be true to Star Wars if we'd had that.
Yeah.
It's exciting as a gameplay thing, but it's not exactly true to Star Wars.
For sure.
You want to add to that?
Yeah, the only thing I'd add to that is also contextually where we are on the timeline, right? With the Empire in full oppressive mode, being force sensitive or being out there, it's kind of puts a death mark on you in a different way than what Kay has.
For
So,
sure.
that wasn't something that we wanted to bring front and center in this experience. We were focusing on that scoundrel experience, but to what Julian was saying, it is still the Star Wars galaxy. That mysticism exists, there is belief in it, it is out there, it's just not prominent under the Empire. So to exactly his point, you might hear reference to it, or you might hear somebody invoke something about the Force, and it's all to add to what you know about the galaxy, what is out there, but is not what is the center point of what
Sure.
this game has to offer.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
It's honestly really refreshing because it's like it is that different kind of a Star Wars experience, and
I always like asking people who work on video games what other video games they're playing or influenced by. What inspired this game? What are their favorite games?
leading into that, what inspiration have you taken from other Star Wars games when building this? If you want to be specific as well. Yeah.
I think there's something magical. I played all the Star Wars games. It's research, so it counts as work.
Sure.
So
yeah.
I
That's
can
what
spend
I say about
hours.
my job as well. Yeah.
It's research.
Yeah.
Can I expense this? Yeah, those are the questions.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that we really looked at was the decision and agency in Knights of the Old Republic that allow you to make those choices.
Sure.
And it's a legendary game, and it's a legendary game for a great reason. It's because it gives people that much freedom to become a character that they define.
Sure.
And I think that's super important. Even with an authored character like Kay, it's very important.
Absolutely.
So that was the biggest touchstone. Apart from that, the other game that was a big influence was, and this isn't a Star Wars game, but it's Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh, cool. Yeah, nice.
Because of the purity of the fantasy and the elegance of the execution ingrained within an open world that really connects.
Yeah,
so
nice.
Ghost was absolutely one of my biggest influences.
Awesome. You've got the pants on today.
I
You
do.
show it. So,
This is the way I rock.
Just for reference here, Julian was wearing some pretty sweet Japanese-inspired pants. I didn't get them in the shot, but they look something like this.
I'd say from our side, the history of Star Wars gaming and Star Wars story across any platform is where we're always pulling from as reference. There's not necessarily just one place we go to. We're looking at everything sort of in totality and going, what are the right pieces to pull? What are the right references that we want to imbue into what we're developing here, and what are the right spaces to craft new for what Massive can deliver on?
Sure. If you could become one Star Wars character that's not K-verse, who would it be?
Babu Frick.
Nice. That's a good choice. Wow.
I'm gonna go Padme Amidala
Okay.
for diplomacy skills and incredible makeup and outerwear
That's
choices
true.
and fashion.
What a character.
Yeah.
Multifaceted. Are you guys playing other Star Wars games or other games in general at the moment?
At any moment, I'm playing 3 or 4 games.
Okay.
I'm playing through Callisto Protocol, big horror fan as well. And they've got amazing character models. They do incredible things with SFX. So from a professional point of view, very interesting game.
Sure.
Playing Slay the Spire because it's portable and I can play it in my hotel room.
Yeah, sure.
I'm playing Avatar with my daughter, and I
Nice.
went back to Assassin's Creed Odyssey because she's on an ancient ancient Greek history trip. So discovery mode there.
Awesome.
So
I just
having
started playing that recently.
it's such a good game.
Yeah,
I've got
awesome.
hundreds of hours on it.
Yeah, wow.
But this was from years ago.
Sure.
And she's just got into it.
Yeah.
So I said, let's do a lesson together.
Okay, nice.
Download it on the PS5, and Discovery is perfect for them.
Awesome. Wow.
Not to sell Ubisoft games too much.
No, well, yeah.
I just started my third playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3, 200
cool.
plus hours in,
Nice.
so that's where a lot of my time is. I've got Fallout 4 and New Vegas running in the background a little bit too,
Cool.
and then I'm waiting for the right moment to dive into Hades 2, which is
Okay.
something I loved that first game so very much, so I'm
Okay.
very looking forward to the second one.
Nice. Okay. I have a question for both of you, but
Sure.
it's more for you.
Sure.
Is Darth Jar Jar truly the Sith Lord behind everything?
Oh, Darth Jar Jar. Yes, Ray, we are happy to confirm today. No.
Please tell me he makes an appearance in the game. Or
We can neither
At some point,
confirm
yes.
nor deny.
are there Gungans? Surely there's a Gungan somewhere in there.
I love that question.
Right. Thank you so much for this, guys. Really appreciate it. Lovely to talk.
I have a question for you.
Oh, sure.
Which is your favorite Star Wars movie?
Movie?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
It was when I was growing up, I was perfect age for it. It was just, and it's still, I look back on it, it still makes me cry when Anakin turns to the dark side, when he's looking out the window at Padme and he makes that turn and decision. It just, I don't know, something about it gets me every time.
Every generation has their Star Wars.
They do. I grew up on the original trilogy watching them, but yeah, that one does it
That
for
one-
me. Tell me,
that's
actually, I was
perfect.
going to ask you both. Tell me yours as well, please.
Mine is A New Hope, just for the emotional resonance. I love Solo. I love Rogue One.
Nice.
I love Empire. But A New Hope is super special to me.
Sure. In black and white, though, right? Yeah.
The way it was meant to be
Yeah,
seen. But
That's always how
yeah.
George envisioned it, up like in black and white. Mine is actually The Phantom Menace. I was right at the right age where Darth Maul was the coolest character I'd ever seen in my life.
Awesome.
And
Yeah.
that brought me right in.
Yeah.
And then I would say Empire is a close second, but
Okay.
Phantom Menace is up there for
Wow,
me.
it's good choices. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Lovely to chat to you both, and I'm so excited for the game. My audience as well. Can't wait to see it, and all the best for the launch.
Thank you.
Thanks so
very
much.
Cool.
Such a privilege to chat with these two, and just want to say thanks to both Julian and Steve for taking the time. And if you enjoyed this, then you might also enjoy my interview with Umberly, Jay, and Naveed, otherwise known as KVS, ND5, and the narrative lead on Star Wars Outlaws.
How does it feel to play what's being called the sexiest droid in the galaxy?
You knew it was coming.
You can watch that here, or watch my hands-on impressions of Star Wars Outlaws after playing the game. And thanks for watching this. My name's Andrew. I'll catch you soon.